It was hard to come to grips with the fact that we had lost one of our own.
20 years ago today, the city of Boise changed forever. And tonight, the police department is holding a ceremony in honor of Mark Stahl, the only line of duty death in the city's history. We have team coverage of tonight's ceremony. KBOI 2's Haley Kramer shows us the unique way the police department honors his memory every year. But first, KBOI 2's Scott Logan spoke with Mark Stahl's widow about the challenges she's faced in the last 2 decades.
Well, this is where it all happened 20 years ago. This is the intersection of Idaho and 15th Streets in downtown Boise. And as you can imagine, many of Mark Stahl's family are here. And I had the chance to speak with Mark Stahl's wife and his father as they are here preparing for this special ceremony. Cheryl Stahl Chamberlain was married to Officer Mark Stahl at the time of his death in 1997. The couple had 2 daughters. Ray Stahl is Officer Stahl's dad. Both expressed gratitude to the Boise community and police department for remembering their loved one over the years.
Although every officer that's out there would have done the same thing, I believe that Mark would do it all over again, knowing the end result if he had a choice, because that's who he was.
Definitely would be great to have Mark here working, and what would his rank be would be interesting, but knowing Mark from the day he was 16 years old, he wanted to be a cop, and he loved it, and his mom and dad supported him.
We asked him what it's like to have a husband or a son who's a police officer, given the danger of the job. Cheryl said she's not a worrier, but the risk is a part of life.
Mark had had dreams that he had been shot. The day he was shot, he had woken up that day and said, "I had that dream again." So whether it was a premonition, God telling him something, we didn't discuss it, so didn't go any further with that. But you always know it's a possibility.
I think that's always in the back of your mind, but I always talk to Mark. Mark would always tell me, he says, "I've been trained, I'm not going to be stupid, I know what to do," and everything else. And it just was, and I believe totally in the sovereignty of God, and I really believe that.
And as they prepare for this special observance, the family of Mark Stahl says their bond with the community is as strong as ever.
I realize Mark, the only Boise police officer killed in the line of duty, but the city and this department especially has opened their arms to us and have been warm to us, and our family really appreciates that.
In the years since 1997, Cheryl has remarried, and her husband went on to become a member of the Boise Police Department. And Mark Stahl's father told me an interesting story. He said that when Mark was young, he was briefly abducted by a stranger, and it was Mark Stahl's interaction as a young boy with the police, with law enforcement, that helped to get him to safety and get him through this harrowing experience that fueled Mark Stahl's passion and his desire to become a police officer. Live in downtown Boise, Scott Logan, KBOI 2 News.
Scott, thank you. You know, every year new recruits honor Mark Stahl in a very special way. KBOI 2's Haley Kramer shows us what they do and why officers say it is so important.
They go through the Mark Stahl Memorial Workout, which ends here at the fallen officer's gravesite. This is a long-standing tradition for the Boise Police Department, and this year they decided to have it fall on the 20th year anniversary of Stahl's death. Cadets learned about who Stahl was and what happened to him, and were given the opportunity to meet the people that mean the most to him.
Boise Police Captain Ron Weiniger stood at the gravesite and spoke about who Mark was, what he represents, and the sacrifices he made.
I made a vow with many other members of the department at that time that we would never forget Mark and that we would remember. And this is just one of those efforts that we make to make good on that promise.
Weiniger, who was also shot during the standoff 20 years ago, played the recording of the officer response and the moment Stahl was shot.
It was pretty devastating to all of us. It was something we had not dealt with, and it was hard to come to grips with the fact that we had lost one of our own.
This year, the department invited Mark's family to the ceremony. His mom and dad spoke to them about their son and the legacy he left behind. Stahl remains the first and only Boise police officer to die on the front lines.
The ill effects or the long-lasting negative consequences of the decisions of those two men that night live with us forever. And on the flip side, a lot of good has come from that incident and the things that we learned and did and changed about how we interact with our community and the work that we do on a day-to-day basis.
For Weiniger, today is bittersweet. Thinking about what happened never gets easier, but he says it is important for the cadets to hear the stories and listen to the recording because it makes it real.
Law enforcement is a unique brotherhood and sisterhood, and we stand together when times are tough. And this was one of the toughest times, if not the toughest time we've ever faced.
Captain Weiniger told me that people who knew Mark well remember him fondly, not because he is gone, but because he was such a good man who lived an honorable life. Live in Boise, Haley Kramer, KBOI 2 News.
Haley, thank you for that. And we do want to remind you that the ceremony is tonight. It starts at 7 o'clock. It will be at the intersection of 15th and Idaho, right near where Mark Stahl was killed. Boise Police Chief Bill Bones and Mayor Dave Beater are expected to speak. If you can't make it to the ceremony, we will stream it live on our Facebook page tonight. For more context and perspective from those who knew Officer Stahl, make sure to watch KBOI 2 News at 10 and follow our coverage on idahonews.com and also social media.